A batter's currency is runs. Marnus Labuschagne is a batter. Marnus Labuschagne needs runs to survive, like a shopaholic needs Black Friday. Every single in the second test in Adelaide will be worth its weight in the most precious of metals. A single to fine leg rhodium, a push through extra cover for 2 palladium, and a boundary gold. But let's not muck around with the truth. Labuschagne will survive because the Aussies won't make wholesale change. It's not their thing. Paceman Josh Hazlewood is out. Scott Boland likely to come in. Mitch Marsh is on injury watch. Bo Webster on standby. Coach Andrew McDonald and Captain Pat Cummins have already signalled they're unlikely to make another forced change, which is why it was so puzzling Labuschagne was not given the opportunity to fight his way out of his mental muddle in Sunday's game between a PM's 11 and India. He scored 5 runs in 2 innings in the first test in Perth and has an average of 24.50 in 6 tests this year. That's not form that warrants a berth at number 3 against an Indian attack led by Jasprit Bumrah, with its confidence soaring and about to be handed the unpredictable pink ball in Adelaide. New South Wales team Sam Konstas was given a chance and answered with 107 from 97 balls. The 19-year-old displayed his wares with majestic straight drives and inventive reverse ramp shots. Veteran WA opener Cam Bancroft also reminded selectors he is in the mix with a Sheffield Shield century. Perth debutant Nathan McSweeney also needs runs at the top of the order after twin failures in the West Test. Is he a better option at 3? His Shield gig? Labuschagne might answer that question at his favourite test venue. In 3 tests in Adelaide, he's made 574 runs at an average of 71. 3 centuries with a top score of 163. Meanwhile, India is only going to get better. Rohit Sharma is back, and although he made a scratchy 3 against the PM's 11, batting at 5, and like Labuschagne has experienced a run drought, his presence as captain will free up Bumrah, who led the team so admirably in the West Test. Shubman Gill, who missed the first test with a fractured thumb, passed a fitness test against the PM's 11 and should return to number 3, meaning Devdutt Padikkal misses. There are so many questions about both the Australia and India teams, with the spectre of the pink ball hovering like the sword of Damocles. Imagine the moment. Australia rolls India just before twilight. The hosts lose an early wicket. Labuschagne enters at that bewitching hour between light and dark, Bumrah with the pink missile in his fingers. As we close in on the first ball of the second test on Friday, Jackson Barrett, cricket writer with the West Australian, joins me. Welcome, Jackson.
Morning, Quarters. Good to be back.
Had a few days to digest the West Test, and it's only days now for the second test. So what did you take out of the PM's 11 game at the weekend?
I think Konstas was the big takeaway. So the New South Wales team, Sam Konstas, who was around the mark in that bat-off before the first test, and he's one of a couple of guys now, Cam Bancroft's the other, just reminding people that there are 5 tests in this series and they're still around the mark. So 100 for Konstas came at faster than a runner ball. This game was reduced to 50 overs, so abysmal weather in Canberra across the weekend.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, yeah. We lost all of Saturday. We lost little bits of Sunday, but reduced to 50 overs. And Konstas was really good. It wasn't quite a full-strength Indian attack, but against Harshit Rana, Nitish Kumar Reddy, Akash Deep is a guy that probably plays test cricket for a lot of other teams, so it was a good attack. It probably didn't get the, maybe being the limited overs game, didn't get the real examination of his technique that he has in some Shield games this year. You might remember the Boland one at the MCG where it was kind of like the litmus test for how he'd go facing the new ball against test quality guys, and he battled against Boland. He looked much better yesterday, probably because there was an element of freedom in his stroke play, and I think being a limited overs game was a factor in that. And then he played some outrageous shots.
Well, the reverse ramp and then, but coupled with the beautiful straight drives as well. So he showed us an array, didn't he?
Yeah. I'd still probably like to see him, like he was really worked over by Boland early in the summer, and he was really worked over by India a couple of times as well. So I'd like probably one more test of his technique. Plays WA from Friday, assuming he doesn't get parachuted in for this test. He plays WA, so that's an attack that in its last game was Joel Paris, Lance Morris, Jai Richardson. So I think that's going to be a really interesting marker.
We'll talk about the changes in a moment, but I want to talk about Labuschagne for starters. So I think with the forced change, they're not going to make any other change. So Labuschagne's going to play in Adelaide. He does have a good record there, averages over 70 in 5 tests, 3 centuries there. So it's a place he loves. So I think that's helpful. But why would they not have given him the opportunity in the PM's 11 at the weekend just to get through this mental muddle and just to find form?
Yeah, we spoke about Konstas having the freedom of it being a limited overs game and having a day washed out. And I get the impression that Labuschagne probably would have appreciated something like that as well. And we know how much Marnus Labuschagne loves to play cricket. And there's an argument for maybe this isn't a situation you can just bat yourself out of and you need a breather. But we called for him to play more cricket. He didn't on the weekends, but he was in the nets up at Queensland straight away. I just feel like that would have been better served facing a not far from full strength Indian attack in a game like situation. So it frustrated me a little bit. Players have regrouped in Adelaide across the last 24 hours. So they're over there now and there's an optional training session in Adelaide today, being Monday. But I think there's plenty of time. Scott Boland played in that game. He'll play in the test on Friday, and he's a bowler. So I have no doubt that Labuschagne could have played in that match. I think he really would have benefited from it.
I love your analysis today on Labuschagne. Simon Kadich had plenty to say, but there's some opinions that he needs to be more aggressive, less defensive. But perhaps it's another call that he should just have a couple of days off, just throw the bat away and do something else for a couple of days.
Yeah, that is something that's been raised as well. Michael Vaughan spoke further today, the former England captain, on his more negative mindset. He scored 2 off 52 in the first innings in Perth, and Simon Kadich, in an interview I did, spoke at length about he's just not looking to score, and when he's at his best, he's trying to find ways to score off every ball, and he certainly wasn't doing that in Perth. And then a big part of that is how wary he is of the ball swinging away and his reluctance to play at it, and what that means for the ball that comes back into him and hits him on the pad. So that was his biggest issue over there, whereas when Marnus Labuschagne's scoring double hundreds at the Adelaide Oval and racking up big runs in some of those summers that he's had, he's punching balls down the ground, he's running singles to mid-off and mid-on, and Kadich spoke about his ability to defend the ball, and batters talk all the time, particularly top-order batters, about the value in a nice forward defence and playing the ball with some force straight back to the bowler or straight back to mid-on. And sometimes that's the, all right, I'm on top of you, indication that they need to bowlers is just that they've got a nice stride in and they've defended the ball. And Labuschagne's just not getting that at the moment. He's so heavy on his leave, but he's not he's not punching balls into gaps like he is when he's at his best.
That chirpiness has gone now. It annoys a lot of people. It annoys me at times, that chirpiness. But we probably want to see that back, don't we? Because we know that goes with his confidence with the bat in hand as well.
I think so. The extravagant leaves are still there, but there's certainly not the lip and the big, the bat straight back down the wicket towards the bowler and that sort of thing. So I think that probably indicates that he's got other things on his mind. You get sick of it after a 5-test summer of it coming through your TV sets. But it's part of what he is and part of what he does when he makes runs.
Do you reckon him and Steve Smith practice the leaves together in the mirrors at the gym?
100%. And I don't know if enough people have caught up to this yet, but watch Nathan McSweeney leave the ball. He is straight out of the Marnus Labuschagne mould as well.
Oh, goodness me. Okay, let's talk about a couple of outs. So Josh Hazlewood, for how long and what's wrong with him?
So it's a side strain. We're unsure at the moment if it was picked up towards the end of the West Test or in the days that followed. The bowlers were resting and recuperating. If you Hazlewood's comments on day 3, at the end of day 3, were put into the spotlight because some thought he kind of indicated a bit of a split between the batters and the bowlers in the group. But part of what he was saying there was, I'm looking towards the next test. I'm getting some physio. I'm getting some recovery. So that was maybe the start of him kind of going, I'm pretty sore here. I need to look towards Adelaide. He has been ruled out. Sean Abbott and Brendan Doggett have come into the side. Side strains are a tricky one. For batters, I find that they tend to be about a month. But clearly, you're really ripping down on that side when you're bowling at the sort of pace he is. He's a very front-on bowler, but it's still, you're really giving it a fair rip. So I wouldn't be shocked if this stretched out for at least a few weeks, at least a couple of tests. So WA skipper Sam Whiteman did one and missed 4 weeks, and he's a batter. So I could see him missing 2 or 3.
So we're thinking Boland comes in. Where's Nisa in the pecking order?
So Nisa did his hamstring. So for me, Nisa's next up in the pecking order. He's making hundreds in county cricket, scoring runs for Queensland, and bowling exceptionally well. He bullied Cam Bancroft earlier in the summer, and he did the same thing to plenty of top order batters early in the Shield. So yeah, Nisa's at the front of the queue for mine, but he did his hammy in the second Australia A game. Boland's the perfect guy to come in for Hazlewood, particularly with the pink ball. He could do some real damage. He's had a good start to the season. We haven't seen him at Test level for since the Ashes in the middle of last year. So he's had a bit of time away, but we know exactly what he can do. The next 2 were surprising. So Sean Abbott probably less so. He's done it for a long time. He can contribute with the bat. Brendan Doggett was the interesting one. They're probably rewarding Australia A form. He played in those games as a late call-up and looked pretty good. But there are a couple of West Aussie boys, Jai Richardson, Lance Morris, sitting there. They've both played a Shield game in the past week, and they didn't get the call-up. They're both on national contracts. So
is it more of a wait and see because he has had a lot of injuries?
Yeah.
But Lance, I mean, we all want to see him unleashed.
You're spot on. Like Jai is a wait and see, and his focus has certainly been more white ball over the last little period. But Lance Morris carried the bags of the Test squad 2 summers ago. If it wasn't for a back injury, he would have gone to the Ashes last year. Like, he's been that next man up for 3 summers now, it's felt like. And if not for injury, he certainly would have debuted at some point in that period. So I'm very surprised he's not around the mark.
Well, hang in there, boys. This is an ageing Aussie attack.
It is.
There's going to be plenty of opportunities.
It is ageing, and Brendan Doggett's 31 as well.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So
Marley Beardman, Lance Morris, Jai Richardson.
Marley Beardman looked good in the Prime Minister's 11 game. It's the fast bowling factory over here.
So Josh Hazlewood saw. Where's Mitch Marsh at?
Mitch is an interesting one. So Pat Cummins came out after the West Test and said that he's pretty sore. We believe it's an ankle. I understand Mitch flew to Adelaide on Sunday night, so he is over there and will get more out of training over the next couple of days. But it is a big wait and see on how sore he is. And then the debate comes down to, is this guy in the top 6 batters in the country? So if you take Pat Cummins on his word, Cummins says he believes that Marsh is in the top 6 batters in the country. He also says that he said pre-West Test that they don't budget for the overs of a 5th bowler. So what does that then mean for Marsh in that, does he bat 6 and not bowl, or does Webster come in? I would be picking Webster. It's a long series.
Yeah.
And Scott Boland's now coming in, hasn't played a hell of a lot of cricket up until the PM's 11. So he's probably someone that you've got a bit of a watch on over match fitness. So I think Webster has to play if Marsh isn't bowling.
Well, as much to give your bowlers a break as a change-up, which you can have a breakthrough
100%. And I think they learnt that Labuschagne probably isn't quite the answer after the Perth Test. But the way he went about it wasn't the worst thing in the world. Like, the odd short ball tactic is a perfectly legitimate way to go about taking wickets, particularly on what could be a bit of a flatty at Adelaide. So, I think they'll need someone that can bowl seam up and probably for 10 or 15 overs and innings. Marsh bowled 12 in the second in Perth, and that's probably around the mark that you need someone bowling at. So for me, if he, as West Australians, we'd love to see Mitch Marsh play every Test for years to come, but I can't imagine he gets through all 5 this summer. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets up with this one and misses another down the line.
Can I let you in on a little secret?
Go on.
I've got a team crush on India.
Really?
I love it. I love them.
Here we
I
go.
love watching them. I love the way they go about it.
Yep.
I love the way in the first Test they were decimated and they just got on the front foot from the winning the first toss and batting.
Yep.
They're only going to get better. So we saw Rohit Sharma come back into that team, interestingly, against the Prime Minister's 11, but batting at 5. So normally they're opener. So does that mean they're sticking with the incumbents and he comes in at 5, or is it just for him to get some form?
It's a fair hint, but I wouldn't nail on Sharma at 5. I've just got a feeling the more I look at it that part of this could be him just saying, I just want to have a hit. I don't care where it is. It was a pretty fluid game of cricket yesterday. They both named, because it was rain reduced, they both named 14 players. They had guys retiring to give the other guys a hit. India actually batted on after they'd reached the target, the nominal target as well. So it's a bit of a hint. And don't be shocked if Sharma bats 5, but also don't be shocked if he opens. He hasn't been in the best form, but he's opened for a long, long time. All of Jaiswal's best innings recently have been, he obviously did it in Perth with Rahul, but he loves opening with Sharma. You can hear it in the way he speaks about Sharma.
Rahul did nothing wrong either in Perth.
Did absolutely nothing wrong, but has made runs recently at number 5 and 6. So for me, I think India look best still with Sharma opening with Jaiswal. Shubman Gill, who had that hand injury from Perth, he batted at number 3 and looked good enough to then retire.
So Padakal comes out, Gill comes in.
I think so. So I think that's a straight swap. Yeah, and then Dhruv Jurel is the other probably in the firing line. He batted at 6 with Pant at 5. It might be Rahul 5, Pant 6, something like that.
The other interesting thing, Ashwin didn't play in the PM's 11 game. Jadeja did. So Ashwin has a pretty good record at the Adelaide Oval.
Good record in Adelaide and good record with the pink ball as well, which is unusual for spinners. So 18 wickets in 4 pink ball matches, which isn't bad. And some of those were in that game where they were rolled for 36. So India have only played pink ball here once, and they've played one in England and one at home against the West Indies. So good record with the pink ball. That's going to be really interesting what they do there, because Washington Sundar did not a lot wrong. He contributed with the bat, took a couple of wickets on the final day of the match where that deck started to play some tricks. Jadeja clearly has a really good record in Australia, also contributes with the bat, offers something a little bit different. They've basically got 3 spinners that could all play. And I mean, in India, they'd be playing 2 of them. They'd be batting Jadeja at 7 and playing or 8 and playing another. They've got a bit of a wrestle here. I feel like the fact that Ashwin didn't play, given that he hadn't bowled competitively on the tour yet, indicates that he won't play. So it's probably between Washington and Jadeja. Washington
both?
would be maybe both, probably more unlikely than likely. Washington would be stiff. He played well in Perth.
So you win the toss, you bat, no question.
I think you win the toss, you bat, but it could be really, really tricky for Australia's top order. I feel Bumrah is going to be, we've spoken about his release point and all those different tricks that he offers, but with a pink ball early, he's going to be really, really dangerous.
I can just see Labuschagne coming in during that twilight period.
I can't wait. I think it's going to be a massive test for him, McSweeney, even Khawaja and Smith, and like we're obsessed with what Bumrah was doing in Perth, and I feel like it could go to another level here.
Well, it's called Test cricket for a reason, Jacko. That's why it is. They don't just unless you're from New South Wales, they don't just hand out baggy greens in a brown paper bag.
Brown paper bag calls come out.